So this doesn't always happen, but every once in a while I get these games where my battleship guns are just working perfectly, and then the rest of the game doesn't really amount to much. So I just wanted to show you guys a few short snippets of games where my battleship guns suddenly just decided to work beautifully. It's going to be pretty satisfying. And of course, we're going to start with the Satsuma and its special gimmick. And even with the special gimmick, that's really good dispersion. Yeah, 60k. Just like that, a Montana gone. And not every Satsuma gimmick salvo looks like that, but oh, it sure feels good when it does. I find a lot of these games do end up being over pretty quickly. We all know how many blowouts there tend to be in this game, and doing over 100k in the first 5 minutes of the match tends to lead to a lot of blowouts, unfortunately. So these games don't last particularly long, but they are pretty satisfying when they do. A lot of the times in the early game like this with a battleship, I'm looking to catch people's broadside. Who isn't, right? But think about how people tend to move on a lot of these maps. Specifically here, a lot of people just go towards the island in the sea cap. They just try and kind of charge towards it, trying to get in there and then just hold that position. Well, if we come out wide like this, we're going to catch people's broadsides. Unfortunately, the rune takes 3 overpens, where the Japanese cruiser was pretty much dev-struck. So, not always the most consistent thing in the world, these battleships. Don't think you're going to be getting those perfect salvos every time. I know I certainly don't. But you can see how these broadsides tend to show up if you know how the enemy team likes to play. Or even just look at how your team is playing the map and just think about what positions would give you on the enemy team the best look at broadside salvos on them. That's really what it comes down to. 3 citadels out of nowhere on the incomparable. And just like that, we have over 100k damage in what, 3 minutes? Pretty ridiculous. Now I know these are super battleships, of course, they are very, very strong, but that is the meta we're playing in these days. Super ships are definitely here to stay, and for a lot of people, it is the pinnacle of whatever ship class type they want to be playing. A lot of people want to play the strongest ship they can. Maybe they don't want to be bottom tier all the time, and super ships are the way to guarantee a lot of those things. So Satsuma is one of the best options, of course, but every super ship is going to be pretty good. Outside of the Unicum, at least on the battleship side, really not a fan of that one. But honestly, a lot of these ships are going to do really good, and they're all pretty powerful at longer ranges. Even the cruisers are pretty insane, especially the Condi at longer ranges is pretty ridiculous. In this game, I really had an amazing start, and then that was it. It was just kind of the game ended. I find that happens somewhat often. Not all the time, but somewhat often. Now moving on to the Hannover here, this is probably the most ridiculous Hannover start I've ever had. A German battleship being completely accurate here. I really have no idea what happened this game, just gave me insane dispersion throughout the whole beginning here. So we get a really nice chunk into the Satsuma. 4 full pens does 22,000 damage. Typically we're going to find that a lot of those full pens don't actually hit for their full damage, but this time they did. A cruiser turning away, guy's angling to us reasonably well. However, we overmatched through into his citadel, no problem anyway. This is a Hannover, by the way. It is a gun build though, but that's really not saying too much. Really, 7% dispersion. I don't think that's really going to make up for the standard German dispersion curve and the Sigma that a lot of these German battleships tend to be getting. There we go. Finally, we missed one. I didn't actually end up hitting the Shimakaze that well. I didn't lead particularly well, though, for that one. To be fair, I was just kind of laughing at how insane this Hannover was playing. So, if we're getting insane dispersion and we're allowed to just hit whatever we want to for maximum damage, why not just aim super greedily for the cheek on a Satsuma? This is a very low percentage shot, especially at these longer ranges. Sure, within 10 or even within 5 kilometers, you can guarantee some pretty good damage into the cheek of a Yamato type ship. But at these ranges, especially at a German battleship, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a very high chance. But this Satsuma is getting melted by these torps, and double citadel. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a German battleship be that accurate. which is pretty insane. So then again, 100k within the first 4 minutes this time. Hannover, I guess, a little slower than the Satsuma in this one. But now we're pushing into DDs, so what do we got to be watching out for? Well, Kitakaze can have up to 2 torpedo salvos if it's using its reload booster. Shimakaze, of course, has 3 launchers, so we got to be really careful of those. But they passed a little while ago. I'm not expecting them to be up for maybe another 30 seconds or so. And we do have our Hydra, which is pretty nice, which is probably going to spot this DD. I'm not sure if he forgot about German Hydra or something, but he just decided to sit here. Front guns only. Front guns only Hannover. We get 4 shells, and we hit all 4. I don't know what blessed this Hannover this time, but I'll take it. I would love to have this more often, to be honest with you. Although they'd probably have to change up some of the other mechanics in this game. Primarily Overmatch, but boy, does an accurate ship feel really nice to play, I gotta say. And that's really most of my contribution to this match already done. We're going to take a couple of torpedoes. Hannover is pretty difficult to turn. Take a little bit of damage, really not too bad here. And that's really battleships having high battle impact early on in a match. It's not something that typically they're doing all that often. Of course, you do need to get lucky with dispersion rolls, like I have been in these few snippets of videos I'm telling you about. Not always going to happen there, but by playing intelligently and aggressively, you can take advantage of enemies' mistakes, like this Shimakaze. I'm not sure what he was rushing towards, but we will end up taking him out. Battleships do tend to have the lowest battle impact, though, out of any of the classes in the game, I think. And unfortunately, that can mean you feel very useless in these blowout games that are over in the first 5 minutes and you've just lost, and there's really not much you can do about it. But I think there are ways to have good battle impact as a battleship early on. It really involves a lot of looking at the matchmakers, so if there's no carrier in the game, I can then push up to a very safe and secure island like this one. If there was a carrier, well, I'd be a free target, right? The planes are just going to fly over the mountain and keep bombing me until I'm taken out. There's things like that that you want to be looking for, but the flanking opportunities like I saw with the Satsuma there earlier on, looking for typical pathways that people tend to follow on different maps, and then putting your ship in a position to take advantage of those free broadsides. With the Hannover, we saw, well, a bit of an extreme example of good RNG, but you can do a lot of good work bullying DDs out of caps if you have destroyer backup with you. I uploaded a Patrie video, I think it was 2 Patrie videos ago, where I just kind of full sent it in towards a cap zone and helped my DDs and actually ended up getting a crack in a mostly destroyer game, which can be a little scary to push into those scenarios, but as a battleship, you can have pretty good battle impact. You just need to know where to put your ship so that you're going to get that damage in without dying, of course. There are a lot of things that love to kill battleships in this game, so you need to always take that into account. Play as aggressively as you can without dying, and that is the trick. It's very, very difficult. It took me thousands and thousands of hours of playing, and I still get it wrong. But that is the key to playing battleships, I find, and having these really, really insane games. And in games like these that I'm showing you, it just happened to be an insane start. We didn't really get up to the full 200, 300k damage late game carries so much in these ones, but good examples of different flanking opportunities or pushing into aggressive positions that allow us to get a really big advantage as a team. Montana pushing out flat broadside. I'm not sure why. Unfortunately, though, he's got a waterline citadel now. It's no longer the old Monty, so we only get 1 citadel, which is a little bit disappointing, I gotta be honest with you. Part of me wishes for the old game where Montana had the giant citadel that took up, what, half of its broadside armor. Very easy to hit, although I think we'd have to see a lot of other ships have more easier to hit citadels if that was to come back, but personally I'd actually enjoy that. I'd love to do more damage against broadsides and less damage against angled ships as a battleship. Just a little more satisfying, I think. And as you've probably felt in this video watching some of these salvos, especially that early one on that Montana, 60,000 HP into him or something like that. Ridiculous. But a lot more satisfying than maybe overmatch damage, that kind of thing. At least for me personally. So with that, the Monty is taken out, and we've got nearly 100k here. Pretty good battle impact earlier on in the game. We went on to do a little bit more in this one, but a lot of the battle impact comes from those early positions that I'm taking. Of course, the clips in this video look pretty good considering the RNG I was getting. I fully understand that. But these are the things that I'm thinking about when I'm playing a battleship. If I want to have good battle impact, which I'm sure we all do, I'm trying to find ways to start the game off well for my team, trying to get really early damage into key priority targets, whether that be radar cruisers, helping my DDs with fights, or just finding the most broadside ships to do the biggest hits too. That's kind of the idea. It's not always going to work out, but there are a lot of opportunities on a lot of maps to have really good impact. To talk a little bit about captain builds, you don't really need anything special to be playing with that sort of mindset. You don't need a brawler build. You don't need anything really insane outside of concealment. It's really nice for those early game surprising salvos, or maybe people forget about you if you're able to go dark for a little bit. Concealment's very nice for that. Fire prevention, great for staying alive. An emergency repair expert, giving us more healing, survivability into the late game. Adrenaline rush is perfect for giving us incremental DPM advantages as we tank, which as a battleship player, you're probably going to tank some damage, as it's very easy to get farmed out. And that's where basic survivability can help out as well. On a Yamato, I'm going to take Grease the Gears. On something that has better turret traverse, I'd probably consider something like Vigilance. Yamato doesn't need to swap to HE very much because it overmatches, but so that's where I take Emergency Repair Expert or Preventative Maintenance. But if I know I'm going to swap to HE a lot, I'll take Gunfeeder. But this is a really standard battleship build. You can run this on literally any battleship in the game, and it's going to perform really, really well. So really just consider these as like a good starting point for your commander builds. I know I show in my videos a lot of different wacky, weird builds that I'm running, but it's not really feasible unless you get a ton of doubloons, of which every patch, Wargaming, since I'm a CC, they do give me some doubloons to mess around with. So that's why it's a little easier for someone like me to do that. But I would just recommend running standard builds, that kind of thing. You're going to do really well. Yamato, for example, just run main battery mod 3. You don't need to spend the research points on the legendary upgrade because it's still going to do really good. And that's just Yamato. Of course, I didn't exactly play Yamato in this video, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about standardizing builds instead of just going incredibly niche into different things. But thanks for watching this video. Hope you found it entertaining. I also wanted to talk a little bit about that early battle impact stuff. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching this video and have a great rest of your day.